Never thought I'd see this again. In December 4th of 2009, I made my first rant. Despite all the likes, comments, and anyone who favorited this thing, I still think it's a pile of garbage. The reason why I think it's horrible is because I didn't script this video. In fact, I didn't script any of my videos until after Unexpected Love Part 2. So it would sound like I was saying anything that popped into my head. It also sounded like I was being real mean to the fans of the new Crash. And of course, nowadays, I don't care if you like the new Crash or not. Anyway, I decided to make this commentary to point out my flaws. Now I know how Cyberwolf087 and D909, aka Vesper the Snake, feel. So without further delay, let's get this over with. More like it's time to show the world how much of an idiot I am.
Crash Bandicoot, everyone's favorite video game character, has been turned into a pile of garbage. This next generation Crash has literally killed my childhood!
I am acting!
Why is he a big failure? Well, after Naughty Dog abandoned Crash Bandicoot, it soon led into the hands of the terrible Saria, which have now destroyed Crash Bandicoot.
Besides the fact I couldn't say Sierra right back then, I have heard people saying that it was Radical Entertainment that was responsible for the change. Either way, I still goofed up.
Their first game was Crash Tag Team Racing, which I thought it was okay. But when the next two games came out, it's like, you know what, screw the original Crash Bandicoot, let's make it completely terrible. And that is what they did.
Burn in hell, you mumbling abomination!
These new designs for the Crash characters are just totally obsolete.
The reason why I don't like the new Crash was that not only did they change their design, but they also changed their personality. I sort of thought the changing of personality was a bad idea. For example, let's say Shadow the Hedgehog has always been a dark and serious character in the Sonic games, and when Sega decided to put him in their newest game, they decided to change his personality into a gay person. Yeah, that would pretty much destroy the character.
Crash has now weird tattoos on his arm and it's very fuzzy, and his new design in this one just looks even terrible. I mean, couldn't they just stick to the old Crash? He acted more mature in this one.
I should have replaced that by saying how they changed Crash to a bumbling idiot, but nope, I had to rant about his freaking arms!
Stupid! Stupid! Stupid!
Besides the fact that Crunch's arm has totally gone mechanical, he just looks very cartoony. I'm sorry, Mr. T, you're not cut out to play Crunch. Kevin Michael Richards was the best doing Crunch, and I like this design much better.
Now, I have nothing against Mr. T. He sort of was an okay choice. I just got real irritated when he started making those lines like, "Eat your greens and don't talk to strangers." I mean, Crunch is supposed to be like Crash's older brother, not his mother.
Coco just mostly looks like a weird 13-year-old, and then his next design, it's just plain, plumb, ugly! I'd rather stick with the old Coco. She was much better and more pretty.
Yeah, I didn't like what they did to Coco. It seems like they made her very annoying instead of a smarty, intelligent person like she was back then.
What the heck's up with Aku Aku? He looks like a floating gorilla head. The old design was much better. He looked more wise and aged instead of goofy.
Even though both designs were okay, it's the personality that just didn't seem right. I mean, back then, Aku Aku was this wise sage and who would help Crash and the others on certain things. But nowadays, he just acts like a comic relief. It just doesn't seem right to me.
Cortex just mostly looks like a weird combination of Dr. Wily. His old design looked more menacing besides Twinsanity and that stuff.
Again, the personality just didn't seem right.
I actually like this design of Nina, because I always thought that the old version looked like it was making fun of the Japanese people.
You racist bastard!
Engine looks like he was drawn by Tim Burton, and he's gone crazy. Guess the rocket must have gone too far in his head. And for some reason, he's emo. Why is he emo when he was more colorful back then, and he had a half-mechanical voice, which sounded cool?
Engine looks like he was designed by Tim Burton. Yeah, like we haven't heard that before. Well, yeah, it's another one of those personality changes that does seem very off. Back then, Engine was this very diabolical scientist who could create machines and mechanical things. Nowadays, he's just more of an insane lunatic. This doesn't feel right.
I actually like the design of Uka Uka, but not fit for a Crash game. The original was much cooler and fit for a Crash game.
When I saw Uka Uka's design, I had no idea that was him, and I'm sure the same thing happened to a lot of people back then. Nowadays, the design is kind of cool. I wish it was more of the design was more like Uka Uka's brother or father or something like that.
As for Tiny, well, I'll just see he's just a screw up of Tony the Tiger, and he's voiced by the same guy who did this character from Mind Your Partner's a Monkey. This is the Tiny we all know and love, our favorite Taz Tiger.
I have not met a single person that actually likes the new Tiny over the old Tiny. And it's pretty obvious. I mean, back then, Tiny was this big hulking Goliath. And nowadays, he's just very annoying. I can understand if it changed the design because a lot of people don't think Tiny's old design looked like a tiger. Although it did, it was under the Taz Tiger era. So, yeah.
In the two new Crash games, they have left out a lot of familiar items. Like there are no crystals, no gems, no relics, no crates, no Wampa fruit, not even any of the famous power-ups we all enjoy to use.
And there's another goof up. When I say there's no crates and Wampa fruit and all that stuff, I completely forgotten that those two items were in Titans, and I think the same goes for Mutants. So yeah, of course back then I didn't script any of my videos, just pulling random ideas out of my head. So yeah, that's pretty much a bad mistake there.
Dumbass!
Instead, we get stuck by collecting these weird mojos, and there are these voodoo dolls also, and then these weird masks that give you power-ups. Lame!
Oh, good lord, that's gotta be the worst impersonation of K-Wing ever. How do I hang my head in shame?
For fighting stuff, he only just punches like he's trying to be a Mortal Kombat guy, and mostly jacks on enemies and stuff. That is just not right for Crash. The most gayest thing ever is that you have to earn enough points to do a spin move. That's just stupid. He's done it for many years and now he's forgotten it. Stupid Bandicoot.
Nowadays, I don't mind the punching and jacking onto enemies and stuff, but I still find it weird that Crash needs to earn enough points to do his spin move, even though he's already done it since 1996.
The new enemies in the game are these weird mutants created by Cortex, which is mostly certain animals combined into one. Those guys should wake up and smell the coffee, because Cortex already made mutants back in the past. I mean, whatever happened to Pinstripe, Ripperoo, the Komodo brothers? And how about this poor unfortunate soul, Rillaroo?
Cry some more!
And what is up with this Crash in the two-player Titans game? They obviously don't know that Fake Crash is the only evil clone besides Evil Crash.
I can't believe I ranted about that small detail. I guess I was engulfed with rage that I completely forgotten that this method of recoloring people in two-player mode has already been done a lot of times, mostly in the Super Smash Bros. Series.
Ah, good old Insanity Island, with other two islands surrounding it. Within this island, Crash's house was living in a peaceful spot, and then they moved to Wampa Island. This island just looks like crap. And what's up with Crash's house? It looks like a deformed Smurf house, for gosh sakes.
Now, people may argue that this is a totally different island or it's Insanity Island in a different location, but in my personal opinion, I think of the new Crash games as more as an alternate universe kind of deal. I mean, Spyro sort of had that same idea, and Sonic had many alternate universes, but again, it's my personal opinion.
Now, the cutscenes in Crash the Titans weren't that impressive, but in Might of the Mutants, they decided to do it crappy. Like in one cutscene, there's a puppet show, and then another scene where it looks like an old comic book, and then the next one looks like it's just making fun of South Park. Yeah. And then the last one is they're making fun of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, I did find it weird they kept changing the art style for the cutscenes when they couldn't just stick to one certain style.
Well, it seems like there's two scenes that I found that sounded a little bit mature to me. There's a scene where Cortex came out of the bathroom and said, "Ew, there was a piece of salad in the urinal. Seriously, who eats a sandwich while going to the bathroom?"
Yes, I know that is not mature content. Back then, I never thought Cortex would say something like that. But yeah, that was just another random goof up in this pathetic rant.
Okay, I don't know if that sounded mature, but this one really crosses the line. There's a scene when Uka Uka strapped to these hoses being drained out of the mojo, and he says, "Oh, if I had nipples, they'd be killing me right now." Yeah, that was my expression on that scene.
I still think that was a little bit mature, probably because it was in a South Park style. It's pretty interesting what these video games can get away with sometimes.
So my conclusion is the new Crash games are just terrible. I'd rather stick with the old ones, and you can do whatever you want. Enjoy the old or the new, whatever.
And I'm going to end the rant there, because I'm not going to bother showing that embarrassing sketch I did showing the old Crash beating up the new Crash. Well, there you have it. That was my first rant.
What did we learn? You are terrible!
When I first did this, I thought it was going to be good, but now looking back at it, it's just painful. In fact, there were two people who thought this rant was garbage. One was Crash Pro 3 and some other guy whose name I can't remember. Of course, you can't see any of their comments on the video because I turned chicken back then and removed them all. If I could go back in time, I would leave those comments on there because it's obvious that they're right and I was wrong, yada yada yada. I guess you could say that I literally melted my brain cells out while doing this rant. Well, who knows if they feel sorry for me if they've watched this commentary. At least I'm not alone for disliking the new Crash. There have been a lot of people that dislike the changes to Crash. I think it's mostly the personality that we despise. Nowadays, I've learned to respect other people's opinions, so if you like the new Crash, then good for you. I'm not gonna force you to stop liking it, because it's your own opinion. No one has the right to change it. If we didn't have opinions, all we'd have were laws, and since most of us wouldn't follow those laws, then that means we'd all be dead. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching this commentary, so until then, this is MeltingMan234 signing off.